Welcome to the Pause Between Us podcast, co-hosted by best friends Natalie
and Sacha. We're lifelong animal lovers and proud pet parents. Between us, we share our lives with
cats Murray and Weaver
and Betty the pug.
In each episode, we dive into the joys and challenges of living with our furry companions, sharing honest stories, laughter, and sometimes a few tears.
We'll also bring in special guests, people who are making the world a better, kinder place for pets, who'll be sharing expert-backed tips and proven practices for keeping your pets happy, healthy, and loved.
Please note, some episodes may touch on sensitive topics or contain strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
Good morning, Natalie.
Hello, Sash. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Enjoying the summer.
Well, it's nicely cooler today, so I'm pretty loving it. We've had a couple of cooler days. We've had no damn rain. Not here anyway, but it's cooler.
Yeah, the grass, like when I'm out on walks with Betty, the grass in the parks and just looks really parched. I've seen a few people recently having left bowls of water outside their homes. Assume that's the kind of wildlife. And I was in a cafe the other day where there was a dog bowl outside for dogs, obviously, and there was a pigeon enjoying a drink from it. It's not just cats and dogs and foxes and things that are getting thirsty. I think the birds as well. It's really nice to see that. It was quite sweet. I tried to get a photo, but it moved before I did. But it was having lots of fun in this bowl of water.
Oh, yeah, we leave out. We leave out bowls of water for our wildlife and hedgehogs. We've got like about 4 hedgehogs in the garden.
Hedgehogs. Oh, that's really sweet. Do you still have your wildlife cam in the garden?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So we pick up a few things occasionally. We've got a couple of little mices in the end of the garden. Because we live near fields, we get quite a few different types of bits and bobs. And like, we have had a rat before, but it's never come that close. But again, because we live near fields, it's to be expected. But yeah, no, we've got hedgehogs. We've had some little hoglets, tiny ones. They're so sweet. And plenty of wood pigeons and all kinds of birds. So we leave a lot of water out. We've got a little bird bath thing to make sure they can drink and splash in.
That's so sweet. Because I know you've picked up things overnight on your cam, haven't you, where you've seen things in your garden?
Yeah, we had a badger months ago. Not seen one since. It's usually just like the hedgehogs now and the mice pop up occasionally. Little field mice, I think they are. I'm not sure. Yeah, but we did have a badger ages ago. And we had a fox, actually, once. Because we don't often see foxes here. I know they seem to be more common in cities, but there was a fox that leapt over the fence. I didn't realise they could jump so high.
Really? You see, foxes are everywhere here in the city.
Yeah.
They're sort of just commonplace now. You just, every night, take Betty for a walk. There's a few foxes about. You kind of get to know them and haven't given them names yet, though. But, yeah.
So currently, Murray and Weaver are chasing off the neighbour's new kitten. Ooh. So because they don't go out as often and their cat's an outdoor cat, it keeps kind of hanging around in our garden because our garden's a bit more kind of got bushes and foliage to hide in. And our birds come a lot here, whereas there's no birds next door. So it's sitting under the bird feeder. But it can quite enjoy itself for quite a long, most of the day because our cats are indoors, except when we let them out. So we open the doors and Murray spots the cat. He's after it, chasing it all around the garden, but luckily the neighbour's cat could jump over the fence. Murray can't, so she escapes and it's all fine. But I'm like, be friends, Murray, stop chasing. It's his garden though.
Yeah, do you think it's more territorial or is it more like, I'm chasing you because this is fun and I want to be friends?
I think probably a little bit of both, because they were seeing each other through the glass doors when the doors were shut and it looked fine. There was no growling and no hissing. And I think because Murray runs out, the cat runs off, so then it becomes a chase. So I think it's more about play. Yeah, I think it's just that. I don't think it's too much aggression or...
No, I can't see them as aggressive pussycats. But how are they both doing?
Yeah, fine. Well, I say this, I do this all the time and I talk about it a lot. I'm trying to get them on some more sort of nutritious, healthy biscuits that have kind of got more real food in them. And I suppose they're kind of natural based and stuff like that. But it's upset Murray's tummy so much that we've gone very slowly with it. He's had a really bad reaction. He was having smaller and smaller poos and now he's literally got diarrhea. He seems all right in himself and we're keeping an eye on him. But I think we're just going to have to revert back to his biscuits that he had before. But the reason we took him off them was because his poos weren't perfect. We were like, there's something wrong with the biscuits. I think I said this before. The wet food's okay, but the biscuits are causing him some upset, any bit of upset, but not as bad as these. So I just thought, get him on some more natural food. It might actually help his tummy. And these biscuits have got probiotics in and prebiotics. And I thought that might help as well. But it seems it's upsetting more. So we're either going to go very, 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 very slow with them and introduce them, which we already are doing, or we're going to have to just revert and try something different. It's such a nightmare because you just don't know really what's causing it, what to kind of take out. And plus then he won't eat things. So then you're like, I'm trying to do the best for you, but you won't like that or you won't eat that. So I've kind of made a bit of a rod for my own back in a way, but we were trying to just get him sort of perfect poos and healthy. Weaver seems fine, but Murray's obviously got more of a sensitive tummy.
And does he need the dry biscuits? Is that important to the diet?
The main reason is it's good for their teeth because it helps to kind of remove the plaque and all that kind of stuff. It also helps for them to sort of free feed during the day. We measure out an amount and then they can just go and graze and eat when they like. So it stops us having to kind of be around and give smaller wet meals.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a bit of a balancing act. So it can be quite helpful. Don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. And then do you try other brands or the biscuits, or do you? I mean, I used to give Betty dry and wet food, but then realised that it was the dry food that was making her put on weight. Like she was getting a lot bigger, too big for her frame. And pugs, as you know, can easily put on weight. And since I've cut the kibble out and just give her the wet food, which has still got all the nutrients in, I've managed to keep her weight at a healthy level. And it might just have been that with the kibble and the wet food together, it was just too much. Maybe if I actually reduced the wet food and reduced the kibble, it would be okay. But I had this theory. I don't know whether it was true, but she has lost some weight. But also because she had quite a few teeth removed, I just thought maybe it's a bit harder for her to eat. And you don't want her to gorge feed where she's just hoovering down these kibbles without actually like chewing them. But yeah, she's not got many teeth now. I thought softer foods may be easier. But yeah, what you say completely makes sense. I get that. So
do you just give her? Do you give her do you just better have 2 meals a day? Or
yeah, do morning and evening. And at one point, I was giving her a little bit of kibble at lunchtime to sort of see her through to the afternoon or the evening. Because I think as dogs get older, they do maybe need to eat little and often. So I have kind of introduced that, and I've seen a little bit of a difference because come 5 o'clock, she is ready for food. She knows it's dinner time and she's getting restless and barking. Actually, if I give her a bit of lunch, she lasts a bit longer. And that just fits in more with our lifestyle and our schedule. It's not always home at 5 o'clock to be feeding Betty, although she'll still be at daycare. But anyway, it's all good. And she's doing well. Went out for a lovely long walk today. The will is really strong with Betty, even though she struggles to walk. She is still determined to walk. I put her in a stroller and she's barking and scratching to get out of it. So I take those moments as a positive sign that she wants to walk. And then on the days that you could just tell she's a bit tired and it's not into it, she'll happily sit in the stroller and I don't push it. So I make the most of the mornings and the evenings when she is happy to walk. But with the heat, it has been hard this summer, getting up super early to do kind of 7 a.m. walks through the park, which are actually beautiful. It's really, really nice to be in the park when it's quiet, there's no one around, you see the wildlife, see all the sort of ducks in the ponds, and you just get a different perspective sometimes when you're out and about a bit earlier.
Yeah. And have you spotted an old Gallagher for a while?
Liam. I haven't seen Liam for a while. Liam, if you're listening, I want to bump into you. Liam, I have bumped into Liam Gallagher a few times on our walks, which has been lovely, and I've met his dog. It's been really nice to see him. So but no, not for a few months.
God damn it! You do a visit.
I'm due a bump into Liam. Oh, so today, Nat, tell us about Humanimal, who we're going to be speaking to today, because I know you're closely involved with them. So tell us a bit about them.
So I am on Volunteer for the Humanimal Trust. I'm on their Public Guardian Involvement and Engagement Board, which is basically, the public and people who have animal companions getting involved in some of their work and sharing their experiences. But the Humanimal Trust, I've kind of been involved maybe like 6-7 months or so. Had a few meetings. I'm just trying to get my feet under the table a little bit and understand a little bit more about what we're doing and our role. So Alex, who's coming in later on, will tell us much more about it. But basically, their purpose really is to drive like collaboration between doctors, so doctors who treat humans, vets who look after animals, and other researchers in both those areas to come together to benefit humans and animals in terms of medical progress and like finding new treatments and new drugs and diagnoses for both of us, but not at the expense of the animals. I very clearly say, and Alex does touch on this, we'll probably touch on this, that it's not about animal testing. It's to remove animal testing, and any of their work they're doing will not involve animal testing. So it's about finding animals who are patients who are already poorly and taking them through like a clinical trial to find out what will work best for them and learn about that in terms of how it might benefit a human population as well and other animals. So that's kind of like it in a nutshell. I'm still learning, and I think probably wouldn't have put that across very, very well. And I think Alex will do a lot of better job for us on that. But yeah, I'm kind of involved in the public side because basically it's just about making sure that what they're doing actually is what the public and what animal guardians want and will be engaged with and kind of support. And the reason I got involved is just because it's quite close to my heart, because obviously Weaver went through a very strange, well, I consider quite a strange medical situation, and it was very worrying. And I just thought, I want more. This can't be the end of the road. I want a diagnosis. I want more treatments. I want more expertise in this. And I thought this will be a great thing for me to get involved in and try and help further the knowledge sharing across all healthcare, really, so that we can all advance things for our pets and for us as humans. So I think Alex will be coming in and she'll tell us a little bit more about what she does, like what the science behind it, because it's quite complex, and maybe like what they're hoping to achieve and how well they're doing so far at getting to that goal. Yeah, hopefully it'll be interesting. They're all very massive animal lovers. Everybody who's there is obviously like either a pet mum, pet dad, are in the veterinary world, or they are kind of in the ethical welfare of animals. They're all kind of engaged in all that sort of work and are massive animal advocates. So we're all coming together with our love for animals to just try and improve the lives. Humanimal Trust as well, interestingly, for those who may not know, was set up by Professor Noel Fitzpatrick, who is super vet on the TV, and he's done some amazing things and really advanced like medicine for animals. And everybody who watches the program will know like how he adores his animals, his cats, his dogs. He always talks about them, and he set this up quite a few years ago. So I think it's brilliant that they've managed to pull all this together, and hopefully they'll do some amazing things in the years to come.
Yeah, no, sounds amazing. And yeah, like you say, he had that early vision many years ago about what he wanted to achieve and how he set this organisation up. And I love him. I've read some of his books.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, great. Really, really excited to hear about an organisation that's trying to make the world a better place for our pets. And yeah, good to emphasise the fact that we're not talking about animal testing at all here. It's very different to the clinical trial work that Humanimal are doing. So yeah, shall we invite Alex in and have a chat?
Yeah, let's do it. Hello, we're here with a new episode of Pause Between Us. We're here with Alex from the Humanimal Trust. So excited. As we just said, I've been involved with them a little while, so still learning, but it'd be great to get Alex's more in-depth knowledge on what they're doing and the subject matter. So we're here to introduce the organisation and the concept of one medicine. The Humanimal Trust, interestingly, was set up or founded by Noel Fitzpatrick, and some of you may know him as Super Vet on TV. But in today's episode, we'll be talking to Alex to understand a little bit more about the close connection between human and animal health how both medical worlds can collaborate to save more lives, and how this approach is kind of working towards a more kinder, progressive future for medical advancements. Would you say that's right, Alex? Welcome.
I like that, yeah. Thank you very much for having me. It's nice
to see you.
Yeah, welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
Alex, tell us a little bit actually about your background first, and your involvement in the Humanimal Trust.
Okay, so I am from the human side originally, so trained to be a scientist in kind of human medical research, physiology, stroke, that kind of thing. And then I did that for a bit, and then I realised that actually I really like talking and communicating about science more than doing the science. So I moved into more science communication, and then from that I've worked with like a few different charities, mostly small ones and companies, around science communication and just being involved in outreach and that kind of thing. And I got involved with Humanimal Trust, I think it was 2015, when I came on board as a freelancer, and have been in and out involved with them ever since, because it's just such a great organisation.
Brilliant.
And I recently came on as the Science and Research Outreach Manager for them, just in April this year. So I'm newly employed, but have been around for quite a long time, and it's been lovely to watch how it's grown. And he just asked me recently, why did you take the job? And I hadn't really thought about it, and I just said, because it's like the funnest job that I've ever had.
Oh, amazing. Oh, that's good, because it's quite not a heavy topic, but it's quite a serious topic. So the fact that it's enjoyable for you is amazing. That's really
great. And I just think it's such an important topic and so interesting, because it's not really known about. People don't really think about it. And then as soon as you mention it, people either go, what? Or they go, oh my God, that makes loads of sense. And you have people can either straight away get it or don't really get it. And there's just so much potential there in so many different ways. And there's just really like it. So, yeah.
Well, that's good, because, I hadn't thought of it really. Well, I didn't know the Humanimal Trust existed, but was thinking in that way, I think, and was like, I really want to know more about the health advancements. Actually, let's not go into it too much yet. So tell us a little bit more about the trust and its kind of mission and the things it's here to do. Let's talk about that, and then we can go into the nuances of it a little bit more.
Okay, so the trust is here primarily to promote One Medicine. And not many people know what One Medicine is, although more people know now since the trust has been around.
Good, doing the job.
Exactly. But One Medicine is basically quite an old concept. I think the traditional history of it was this bloke called Calvin Schwab invented it or talked about it in the 1900s. It was around that time.
Okay.
And it's all about how nowadays we know that there's vet medicine for animal patients, and we know that there's human medicine for human patients. But back then, actually, the two disciplines were much closer in how they worked together. And our whole ethos is to say we could have more closeness around that for the benefit of animal and human patients. We could have more collaboration between doctors and vets and the researchers and the professionals that are all involved in working in human and animal health. We could learn from each other a bit more, and we could basically do that for the benefit of both animals and humans. So our whole thing is to try and, it started off as kind of building awareness of One Medicine and saying, because it's a lot of people going, what is One Medicine? And One Medicine is kind of catching on a bit more now, which has been helped by the whole One Health thing as well. So it also moves into showing how One Medicine can help, and also how do we do One Medicine? What does that actually look like? How do you actually get doctors and vets to work together? How do you actually get research to happen that involves both sides that is going to help animals and humans at the same time? And also why? Why do we do that? A lot of that kind of thing. And as part of that, we fund some research projects. We fund a couple of little research projects. We're doing one this year called the Connections Awards. And then we also at the minute, we're funding a big research project, which is about cancer. And it's called the Cancer Discovery Fund, and that just started earlier this year, and that's a 3-year project. Amazing. So that's really exciting. And we also do little bits of education and outreach and awareness and just generally promotion of One Medicine and investigating new areas where we can help. How can One Medicine be involved in this? And is there a room, an area for it?
Oh, it's such a shame that, it feels a shame that if it was talked about in the early 1900s, it's taken to now or very recently to bring it back. What a wasted time. And probably all this tape and all these regulations that have taken it away.
Or it's almost like we've got so specialised.
Right.
We've all got so specialised in what we do because I think that's just the way the humans work, is we just like to get more and more specialised and more and more specialised and more and more specialised. And then we slightly forget the beginning, the whole aim, which was to improve health of everybody. And humans and animals are so connected in everything that we do. We live together, we do everything. You can't improve the health of one without improving the health of the other. You can't just focus on one. And we just kind of forget that because we all just get in our little silos and get on with things. I remember when I was doing research, looking back at, thinking, I'm doing this in my little tiny little speciality. How do I know that someone else isn't doing that somewhere else? How do I even know that? And you can go and look through all the literature, and it's easier now online. There's loads more online. But there must be other people coming at this from a different angle.
Yeah.
And how do I find those people? And that's what research has always been about. It's going to conferences and talking to other people. But then if you're all just going to the same conferences, the human doctors are going to the human conferences and the vets are going to the vet conferences, we're not talking. So how do you get that bigger cross-disciplinary knowledge? And that just goes because you just get stuck in your little thing. Yeah. And carry on with it.
And just a question there on that. Is there particular disease areas or treatments where there is a connection between human and animals? So I recently discovered that my dog had been prescribed some tablets for her stomach that I have also been prescribed more recently. Because when I picked up the prescription, I was like, I think I've already got some of these. And because I've been giving them to my dog.
Yeah.
So I now have double the amount because I've got my prescription and hers from the vet. But are there any areas where there are those sort of shared challenges when it comes to health?
I think that happens quite a lot. I'm not a vet, but I think there is a lot of overlap in the health challenges that the vets see compared to the challenges that the doctors see. But cancer is a massive one. And that's also an area of work where One Medicine actually has made quite a lot of progress.
Right.
Excellent.
Not in this country as much, starting to happen, but more in America. And it's not really called One Medicine, but we can talk about that a bit later if you want. But cancer's a big one. And then chronic diseases. We're all living in the same environment and we're all kind of living in similar ways. We're affected by similar environmental toxins. We just funded a very small project from somebody in Portugal, actually, who was looking, can we see what's happening with environmental toxins? Can we predict if we measure them in cat wee? Can we predict how they're also affecting humans? Have we got stuff that's around that's affecting our companion animals at the same time as it's affecting us? And what can we do about that instead of just thinking about humans? What about all of us that's in that household? We're all affected by these similar situations.
Yeah.
So there's that side, and then there's so much. There's mental health and that kind of thing as well. Just everybody is affected because we're all so connected.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Is the science, the biology similar? I'm sure it's not in every instance, but I don't know how much you know, but a cancer in a human, a particular cancer, does it do the same in an animal? And is it and so effectively the treatment, I know the treatments sometimes are the same, but the progression that we make in human, this is where I come from, the progression in human medicine is obviously what seems to be way in advance of the opportunities for pets. And I'm why can't we do more for our animals and give more treatment options but would that work? Do you know if the biology is the same?
Yeah, so that's the thing, is we're not saying that the biology is exactly the same. It's obviously not for every animal. Yeah. And I include humans as an animal.
Yeah.
We're all slightly different, but there are a lot of remarkable similarities in the same diseases between the different species. And these are kind of being discovered more and more as well as we get more molecular biology knowledge and we get more genetics knowledge, and we're looking at the cells. I mean, we've always been looking at cells, but we're looking at them in much more detail now. And also as vet medicine progresses and we have more understanding about how these diseases behave in animals versus in humans. The Cancer Project, that's it's a type of melanoma that it affects your head and your neck, and it kind of, I think you get like tumours in your mouth or in your nose and your sinuses, and that affects humans. It's very rare in humans. It makes up 1 in 3,000 cancers, basically. 1 in 3,000 will be this type of melanoma, but it's actually also affects many of our companion animals. So it affects dogs, cats, horses, I think. And it's actually a bit more common in dogs. I think it's 1 in every 100 cancers is this type of cancer.
Wow.
And researchers are finding that they develop very similarly.
Yeah.
They have similar horrible outcomes, like patients don't do very well with it. It's very difficult to catch early. It's very difficult to treat. And they've got very similar molecular makeup, very similar ways that they grow. And so actually what's happening with this Cancer Project at the minute is that the researchers, I think they've already developed a test before we funded them. And now they're hoping to see if they can use this test to determine whether a type of treatment, I think it's an immunotherapy treatment, which uses your immune system to kind of try and beat the cancer or work against the cancer. They've developed this test and they're going to see if they can use it on dog and human patient samples to see if they can use the test to determine whether this type of tumour will actually work with this type of treatment. So it's a way of trying to make sure that both animals and human patients get treated quicker. And that's come about because there is this similar biology. And there's obviously other diseases where there is less similar biology or where there are some overlapping similarities. I remember sepsis is a thing where that's the condition where I think you can have really serious consequences quite quickly with it. It's essentially a blood infection, I think. It's where you get a large infection that can shut down your body very quickly, and it's very difficult to detect. And I remember watching a talk about it where there are big similarities between different species and trying to spot when sepsis is happening in humans or in animals. But also there are big differences in how the sepsis progresses. I think that's right. I may be wrong, but there's definitely differences in either how it progresses or how you can spot it, depending on the age of the animal and the age of the human. So it's not a blanket, we're all the same and we need to, develop a drug that works in one that works in another and we should do this. It's more about saying there are overlaps and there are real low-hanging fruit that we could work with to develop some really good ways, new ways of treating humans and also, importantly, the animals. And that is starting to happen, like I was saying before, in America, especially around cancer. So there is a thing called comparative oncology, which is essentially saying we can learn from animals and humans and figure it out together about how best to treat cancer. And really, One Medicine, we kind of advocate for that, as well as at the same time making sure that the animals get the treatment, get the benefit of helping out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about this because it's not about test like giving an animal a cancer. It's about treating the animal that already is dealing with this condition and helping that to get better. That's right, isn't it?
Exactly. It's about helping animal patients who already have the cancer. So a lot of my experience of it comes from watching what's happening in America, where you have a few animal patients, usually dogs still at the minute. Okay. And that is something that happened that somebody was just talking about recently, where it was like, why don't we have more stuff for cat patients? And cat patients come with their own challenges, bless them.
Okay. Maybe we can talk about that in a minute.
I love cats. But, for some reason, it seems to be canine patients where it has taken off a bit more in America. Like, so basically you'll have a new drug treatment and the animal patients can try out this new treatment, and that means that they get treatments that actually work for them, which there wouldn't be anything for them. So it is still a clinical trial.
Yeah.
And through the animal patient can then get access to this new treatment, whilst the human benefit is that then they can get a bit more data of how it works, you know, see what's going on. They don't need to use so many animal models to have a look, because you're already getting some data from the
real
animal
case.
patients who are also then hopefully gaining some benefit. Sometimes it doesn't work, but then that data that can then be transferred basically a bit quick into the human patient trials. And in that way, there have been quite a few little drugs that have come through the pipeline, especially in America, that have been helping. And one thing that we're wondering about is, but then with these drugs, how many of them then go on to get licensed for the animal patient as well? And that's something we're not sure about.
Okay.
We're kind of having a look at.
Do you think that'll take a little while to come through because of the process, or is it just a case of tracking and you doing a bit more kind of digging and finding those trails out?
Yeah, it's probably not.
Bit of both.
Bit of both, and just not. Again, it's probably a bit of a blockage with how, like, it then comes onto financial incentives for whether it's worth doing it on the wide scale for animal patients. You know, it's all of this kind of thing. I'm not sure, I don't know fully about, but it's that whole thing, which is generally the general blockage of one medicine, which is that kind of managing to transfer it back to the animal and make sure the animal gets their go.
Go on, Sash.
And there's probably another layer there, isn't it? Because it's like, if you're a human patient, you have access in the UK at least to the NHS, who is able to afford the treatment, hopefully. I know not all treatments are affordable for the NHS, but then you get access to it. But because we don't have an equivalent NHS for animals, there's that barrier there as well, isn't there? Because vet prescriptions seem very expensive.
Very expensive, and it's a completely different. If you look at the NHS versus how vets work, it's a completely different setup. Completely different setup, and that's one of the barriers. Is how the research. You know, research for humans is much better funded, fewer financial issues when it comes to the end product. Because, as you said, we're going to get it funded, and the NHS are going to pay for it as long as it's not too terrible.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously it's all privately funded for vets, or insurance funded, but then the insurance gets involved, and so there's a lot of barriers.
Yeah.
That we're all kind of thinking about and looking at.
Feels kind of like, I find it maybe quite overwhelming because there is quite a few barriers. And I think when I've been involved in the work so far, there was a lot around the sort of regulation and licensing stuff that I wasn't fully aware of. So you've got that on top. I mean, maybe we can explain that for some of our listeners in a second, but that on top of actual the affordability and the end side of it is also a huge consideration, and whether parents, guardians will actually be willing to pay for some of the treatments. I don't know whether that will change over time. My feeling is that people are seeing their pets more and more as family and may be willing to invest. But then you've always got people who just don't have the money and the capability to go into those sorts of high level, you know, those high cost treatments. But could you say a little bit more about the legislation and licensing bit, like the barriers? Is it easy to sort of like...
I find it really difficult.
It's complicated, isn't it? That's the thing. It's a big topic.
I don't know whether we could like try and give people a little bit of a window into like why. Okay, we've got this medicine. It's been okayed for people.
Yeah,
we want it. Why can't we just get it okayed for animals?
Yeah. So this is actually the focus of. We just did a parliamentary event in April. Around this, saying
perfect.
We have a treatment in humans. Why is it not coming through for animals as well? Especially if animal patients have been used as part of the development process. So we know that it works all right in dogs. We know that it's safe. Can we not give it a go?
Yeah.
So actually we got some really, really good feedback that we're sort of formulating at the minute to try and work out what we're going to do next, because it seems like we were saying, well, there's a problem here. And it seems like some people are like, there is no problem. There is no legislation that stops you from using this drug in a different animal. It's so people can do it. It's not the regulatory issues. I don't want to go into it too much because I'll end up saying something that is wrong.
Yeah.
What I'll leave it at is that basically it's a complicated situation and we're not entirely sure where the issue is. And what we want to do next is to go and talk to everybody involved, basically. Listen to the regulators, listen to the people who are on the ground and find out where the little blockages are, because it's not a clear blockage. It's like something's just not going through and we're not sure why not.
Oh, well, that sounds a bit more hopeful.
It is. It's a little bit woolly. I do apologise.
Yeah, complex and
no, it's fine. It is complex. And I wonder if there's I don't know, there's something also that you'd have to do with pet parents and guardians themselves to have a bit more of an open mind around this topic too, because there's probably a little bit of fear. Because I know when I had Betty's medicine and I was told it's off license, it's designed for humans, but it can be given to dogs. You kind of think, but can it? Is it safe? Is it going to be okay? And then there's probably something there around just sort of reassurance and changing attitudes that actually, because we're just so used to seeing very specific medicines that we get from the vets for our cats and dogs, and then medicines that we have as humans, and they are the same, but they do feel very different for some reason. I don't know. So there's probably something there around awareness raising and changing attitudes and perceptions as well.
And that's really interesting actually, because that brings up two things for me. One thing is the PGA thing that I know you've been involved in that is brilliant. I just love this whole thing around it, because it's about helping companion animal guardians, pet parents, pet owners get involved in having a say and in how the care is happening for at the veterinary level, and specifically actually at the research level. So we want to see more vet research happening for animal patients so that they get access to more stuff, and you end up with more drugs coming through, and you get more, that pipeline is opened up a bit more. Yeah. And in human medicine, there's a really strong ethical idea around involving patients and the public in this, because the research is happening with human patients. So human patients should be involved in and have a say in how that research is designed and whether it's going to be useful, whether it's what they actually want. And it's not about actually dictating what happens with research, but it's about working with the researchers. And would love to see something similar on the vet side. And that's what we've been developing is an initiative around that that's kind of not modelled on the human, but kind of very similar, that is to help people with the companion animals have more of a say around this and get more involved. Yeah. And actually the other thing that I was thinking about was I was just talking to my friend before this who's a vet, and she was saying that it's really interesting now with antimicrobial resistance. So there's actually a big push to obviously cut down on antibiotic use. She's really noticing how people come in much more understanding about it, much more, not expecting antibiotics.
That's interesting.
Because everybody knows, already done all the research, already asked Chat about it, Chat GPT, and are just much more, medically aware than previously. So already that opening up and that understanding is kind of coming on a little bit.
That's interesting actually, because I think with with AI coming now to the forefront, I think actually you probably will see maybe more pet owners and guardians maybe upskilling themselves on a few things before going to the vet, and kind of maybe either asking for something or expecting something, or kind of maybe understanding the kind of conditions a bit more, maybe be a bit more informed, maybe a bit more misinformed, I'm sure. But I wonder whether that will kind of change how people approach healthcare for their animals a little bit more. I haven't done it myself. I don't think I would Google, because I always feel it with myself. As soon as I start Googling a condition I've got, I'm almost dying. I've got the worst case of everything. I wouldn't do that with my animal, because then I'd start really panicking.
It's really bad.
I know. So I'd be like off to the vet immediately. I wouldn't want to. I would trust their judgment on there before I started searching stuff. But I bet people probably do a bit more of that, and it could help and could also hinder. But
there's a balance, isn't there, to be struck, I think, because I'm sure there's plenty of people that go in and annoy their vets, just like you go in and annoy your doctor, because suddenly you become this expert.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it is good to be informed and know a bit more about what you're talking about, because it can feel overwhelming otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's all about working together.
Exactly. It's back to the point of what you talked about right at the start of the podcast around One Medicine and bringing the right people together.
You obviously talked at the start about like we need to bring scientists and vets together, human medicine, animal medicine. How successful is that kind of going at the moment? Like, who are the people that are behind the scenes? Because I know there's a network, isn't there? A growing network. So yeah.
So there's the LinkedIn. Well, it's on LinkedIn now. It was on a different platform. We've just shifted it over to get some more people involved, and it's called the One Medicine Network. That is for professionals, and we tend to have. So it's about anyone who's involved in One Medicine, or who's interested in One Medicine from a professional background. So you can be really, it's very tenuous. It's as long as you've got any sort of professional interest, a nurse, a student, a physiotherapist of all different species, you know, like anything where you're just interested in the similarities and what you could learn from talking to people from the opposite side, basically. And what we were just looking at the stats when we were moving over, we were just looking at the stats from the other platform, and we thought, because we tend to get quite a few, vets tend to pick it up straight away, because I think because there's a bit less literature, a bit less research done, slightly fewer treatments, they're already having to dip into human treatments sometimes, like you just said, Sacha, about off-label medicines and stuff. And when you read vet papers, they're already looking at the human literature and saying this is what's going on in humans. So I think they're more open to the idea of it, and probably more like, why aren't we doing this already? We should be doing this more in the opposite direction. So we have a lot of vets, but interestingly, was about half and half, or it was about human and animal disciplines were split about half and half. And we did have a lot of people from the human side who were very interested, particularly GPs. A lot of people were GPs on that network. And we've talked about this. Why is it that GPs seem really interested? And we're wondering if it's because they're quite holistic in the same way that vets are quite holistic. So there's a lot of overlap in how you're treating patients that are coming in, and you're seeing very similar things, and you maybe have to think quite dynamically. You're not totally specialised into it. But GPs seem to be an interested bunch. So we're wondering whether we can start going out and talking to GPs more. Nurses are interested. But then we have a lot of researchers. Obviously, in research, when you get down to the cell level, it doesn't really matter too much whether it's an animal cell or a human cell.
It's interesting, Alex, because I'm just sort of reflecting on like my journey that I had with Weaver, my cat, recently, and the specialism as a pet owner or pet parent. Terminology keeps changing, so I do apologise, because I never know quite how or where I sit on it. So
I don't know. I try to use all of them.
Yeah, I think we all do.
That's what we've been doing.
We want to be inclusive and use all terminology.
I still use the word pet because it's so natural to me, and I'm old now. So. But anyway, I do appreciate the change of language is sometimes good. But yeah, because I think what I really got a lot of value out of with Weaver's very strange condition that she had at one point, and she still is being treated for it, was actually having an expert, so like going to a heart, I can't remember what the name is, but the heart vet that was an expert in that area, and then having somebody who was good with musculoskeletal stuff. And I didn't know they existed. And then when I got to a sort of a dead end, and I was like, there must be more information I can get from someone who knows the conditions. And it's like, and I'm like, where are the specialists? No, the vets weren't really forthcoming at the time about there being these people out there, and I had to search. And when I found it, I was like, this is just awesome. Like, I want this more available. The place, unfortunately for us, was, well, it was I don't know, 45-minute drive, but taking a cat 45 minutes was very traumatic. I was like, I wish there were more of these specialist centres nearby. I don't know, like, how other people feel about that, whether other pet. So I don't know, Sacha, like you, how do you feel about that specialism side of things from animal medicine?
I mean, that's the thing. I think trying to find someone who can support Betty with her spinal compression day to day, it's quite hard to find physios and people that can do the laser therapy for her and also have expertise with brachiophilic dogs. But yeah, I think vets do want to do their best, but I suppose their knowledge becomes limited. But yeah, it's not easy to find. Well, yeah, they just don't. I don't know if they know if they exist.
I know. I think specialisms are growing. I think specialisms are growing in the vet world. I think it's again, it's difficult because once you get specialised, then you also lose speciality. In other aspects.
And it become too niche, can't it? Because not every pet or dog, cat will experience those things. So
well, like you said, start the specialism, like you say, you start to lose the bigger picture and the dynamic kind of response to their condition.
It's basically about everyone. I mean, one medicine in general is about communication. It's just about more communication and stronger communication, and that's what it is, isn't it? It'd be great if we all have great, strong specialities and then can communicate between each other to make sure that we're not missing things and things aren't falling through the gaps. And that reminds me of another barrier for one medicine is the different terminology between the two. Different diseases called different things. And
really?
Yeah, like quite funnily, I never really thought that this would be such an issue, but it comes up in everything that we do. If we do an event where we're looking at what are the problems, or if we do a symposium where people are talking about different diseases, and you've either got the human or the animal side, and it's just different terminology, just because we've just grown separately and just come up with different words. And sort of one medicine is about maybe thinking, can we simplify those words a bit more, and especially, or can we just make them a bit more transferable between the two, and especially around research, I think, because how we do research, can we do it in a way, coming back to the PGIE thing, can we do it in a way that makes the data as good a quality as we can get, which then makes it easily transferable between the two disciplines. So clinical trials and things like that, trying to get them to the best standard that they can be done. That kind of thing. Yeah,
because for helping people to understand, like, the PGIE, the sort of public and guardian involvement side of it, like, you know, okay, what can I do as a general person who just has who's a pet parent, like what value do I have? But like you say, like designing kind of clinical trials,
it's value.
Yeah, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be accessible for you. It's got to be appropriate for you and your animal. You've got to be able to kind of trust the system and the setup and be able to administer the drugs or whatever it is that's coming through. All of those systems, your voice is important, isn't it?
That's it. Like, is this study gonna work? If we're doing a study that's looking at, that involves giving an animal 10 million tablets in the morning, is that gonna work? And anyone...
Yeah.
No, you can't even give one
it's
sometimes.
Gonna be like, no, we can't. That's not going to work. Whereas sometimes if you're coming at it purely from a scientific point of view, you're like, right, we'll do this and then we'll do this and then we'll, then we can measure that. But the people who are on the ground doing it are the ones who can then tell you, like, no.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was speaking to my mum earlier and she's got a little chihuahua who... will not take tablets, and we were just talking about the different types of food that she was going to hide this tablet in, so that and like you say, you've got to give them more than one. That's very challenging, and how are the different ways in which you can apply that treatment to kind of suit the animal and the human? But it's challenging.
It is challenging, and also it's challenging in a way that the animal obviously does not have a voice, so you have to speak on behalf of the animal and think about what's best for the animal, and maybe what's best for the animal is not even going in that trial, like not even getting, so there's that aspect of it as well, and that's why it's so important to have everyone involved in designing this research, because it, is it necessary to do the research? If people are going, I just don't think it's even necessary, then it's got to be ethical. It's got to be in the animal's best interests.
I think that's a really hard decision to make, actually, because like as a pet owner, like I immediately think I'd do anything above and beyond to like make sure my animal lived. Like if there was some kind of condition that I suddenly figured out that they had, I'd be like, let's just do anything possible. But then actually the rational brain of mine would be then, well, you know, is the treatment going to actually make their life worse? Are they actually going to come out of this as healthy as they are at, you know, at this point? Is it going to restrict their movements for a year? Therefore, is that actually a life the animal needs? And, you know, trying to make that decision is really, really hard. Yeah.
Really hard. Yeah.
And you rely on, I think, a discussion with your vet and like come up with those decisions together and kind of talk through all the options. But yeah, it's tough. It's not easy.
Yeah. That was one of the things that just came up for me around recently around diabetes, because I don't know if either of you've got experience with animals with diabetes, because I thought that diabetes was actually quite, you know, in my head, it's like, oh, well, we've got insulin, so it's all fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think the same.
Treated, it's all fine.
Yeah.
And but there's many, many people who do have experience of this with pets, but I didn't realise it's possible for pets who have diabetes to live long lives, but it's not as easy, obviously, as it is with humans, because it takes a lot of effort and a lot of close monitoring to keep blood sugar levels right and to watch what you eat as a human with diabetes, to watch what you're eating and to do this and to do that. And you have a lot of support from nurses and you have fancy little gadgets, you know, and you can measure your blood and this kind of thing. Even though we've got a treatment for cats in particular, I'm thinking of, but animals in general, there's things like, you know, the blood monitor things on your that you put on your pet, if you can, falls off or it doesn't stick on very well because of the fur. Or they knock it off because why they're going to want to keep that on, you know. So it's very little things that are sort of, even though we've got the treatment there, it's actually the measuring of the blood and it's the managing of the condition that is then stopping that.
It's a really good example.
Progress. Yeah, I just find that. Yeah,
that's a really interesting example because I can see like owners then balancing. Well, can I manage this every day of my life, not only of the cat's life, for example?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, how do you, I don't even know, if you have a cat with diabetes, do you have to stop them from going outside? Do they have to stay inside because you have to watch what they're eating?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But yeah, it's quite interesting. We've been reaching out, trying to get in touch with, there's a company over in Italy who they're developing blood glucose sensors specifically for pets, and we just wanted to talk to them to see what they were doing and how it, because I think it's based on a human one, but then they're adapting it, and I just was really interested in how are they adapting it.
Have they spoke to pet owners? And
have they spoke to pet owners, exactly.
I was going to say, but if you are a pet owner, pet parent listening to this and you want to get involved somehow, whether it's, you know, you've got views to share or your pet is unwell and you want to explore opportunities maybe for to be part of trials and things, how do people engage with you or you with the charity?
With the charity, well, look us up. Humanimal Trust, online, on LinkedIn, on social media. Reach out to me directly. So anything, if you've got any suggestions, any ideas, any thoughts, any stories, we've got something on the website for people with stories with companion animals to put in where their own experience with different illnesses or what's happened or what they think would be useful or just experiences in general that we can take inspiration from and can use really to help push things forward a bit more. But also it's interesting that you mentioned clinical trials, because that's one thing that is actually lacking a little bit in this country, is that there currently isn't a registry or any way of really being able to know what clinical trials are happening in the UK for companion animals. And they're just currently there's one for humans, or there's a couple for humans.
Yeah, I've seen those,
where you can search through and, you know, have a look and see if there's something. But honestly, it's almost like you set this question up for me, because we've got
there
a friend.
Well, I was just thinking if I had a pet who was poorly and I wanted to help them, maybe they could get involved.
There's somebody who is setting up, she's involved in the trust, who's setting up the first vet clinical trial registry, which she's hoping to launch very soon. Very, very soon. And if that goes ahead, that would be fabulous, because that'll be the first time that there will be something for the public to search.
Oh, great.
So if it's, say, my cat's got a thyroid problem, is there any trial going that my cat can can get involved in, or that we can get involved in, you can search through and find. And she's working really, really hard to do that. And I will let you know if it gets going, or when it gets going, I should say, because it'll be really good to tell everyone about it, basically.
Yeah. So very good. That'd be brilliant progress.
Yeah.
Because, you know, not every vet's going to know what clinical trials are happening because, you know, they're busy people. They've got a lot to deal with, and adding that is a big thing.
Exactly. And it's also really difficult to actually know. It's just difficult. Like there is, even the vets, we had an event where even the vets were saying, is there anywhere we can look to see where the trials are, to see what is going on? There just isn't that collective repository, basically. So it's really good. I'm really pleased that that's going ahead.
Congrats. Yeah.
And I think it's probably worth saying, like, when we talk about clinical trial, it is very different to the term animal testing, isn't it? I just feel like I just want to be clear on that, because it is very different. So we're not encouraging that. We're saying that there are trials that could help a poorly pet,
poorly animal.
Poorly animal.
And that is absolutely something that we have to be really clear on as well, is that we don't advocate, Humanimal does not advocate animal testing in any way. And in fact, we do. One of the aims of One Medicine is to reduce animal testing and eventually make it obsolete, along with, so One Medicine is kind of looking at the spontaneous, naturally occurring diseases in animal patients, which will be clinical trials. So using the data that's already coming out of vet clinics, out of studies with animals that are having a look at trying new treatments and this kind of thing, to try and reduce the amount of testing on non-patient animals, basically, on animal models. And we don't ever fund anything that uses animal testing, and we don't advocate it at all. And that's one of the main aims of our charity, is to stop animal testing happening.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then also in our vision, we include these things called non-animal methodologies, new stuff like we said before, AI, all this kind of thing, animal-free technologies, which are getting better and better. You know, stepping in instead of needing animal models, and it's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. So yeah.
We will get there one day. It'll be a great ambition, isn't it, for the future?
Definitely. That's been so interesting. Thank you for coming on, Alex, and explaining that to us and having a bit of a discussion around it. So hopefully we've kind of been able to put that across for people to understand.
So. Yeah,
I think so.
Like, if people have got any questions, send them in, give us a shout. Or if they're like, do you know what, I've been listening and what you're saying is not true. Again, we're about challenge, and we're about discussion. Like, we're about trying to bring different people together who don't normally talk. So we're open to people saying,
Excellent.
I don't agree, and, go for it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this podcast will go some small way to raising a bit more awareness and understanding of the charity and what you're doing, because it's amazing, and a lot of it seems to happen behind the scenes, so it's great to put a bit of a spotlight on that.
Well, thank you.
Today.
Thanks very much for giving us the
thank
space.
you for everything that you do. And one very final question: do you get to work with Noel? I see him on the TV with Super Vet. Is he quite active? Are you friends with him?
He's far too busy. He's super busy.
He's super busy.
In
Super
high
vet.
demand, I'm sure.
Super busy vet, exactly.
I mean, he's amazing for pushing this forward. And I, on the website, I watched some of the interviews he's had with patients, pet parents, and he puts it across in a really accessible way. So if people want to learn a bit more about what the whole ethos and drive behind it is, it's quite good to go and watch some of those, actually.
That's really true, actually.
Yeah. That's how I first heard about all this, is through one of his books, I think. So, and then I mentioned it to Nat. So really great work, and thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate it.
No worries.
Good luck on your mission. Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Bye.